So starting off with Honor of the Waves, we will begin by using offhand pistol. I prefer using dagger mainhand for the blinding gap closer because there are a lot of slowing conditions here, and I just like to be able to close distance quickly. But I also like headshot against the hunters for that channeled rapid shot thing like the rangers use, and because of the AoE crippling thing like the rangers use as well. I like having headshot available to stop all that stuff, but I don't use it very often here in this clip for some reason. I just forget about them entirely, but when I do use them they are very effective in shutting those hunters down completely. When we group the mobs up a little, then I use black powder to blind everyone at once. These guys here, I would have used black powder if I had more sense, and just stayed a little closer, but for some reason I don't. I'm not in the best of minds here, I'm rather tired, but you can sort of see where the logic behind all the skills is if you're paying attention to what the mobs are doing. So, you know, it's extremely easy. And once these guys are finished, I will keep using this weapon set, even though I would have probably switched to sword and pistol for the better AoE attacks. But when we get to the... I can't remember the specific name of those mobs, like sages or something like that. The ones that spawn ice elementals that appear next, the two sitting next to the pillars. I'll plant smokescreen directly on top of them if I remember to equip it, but if I don't, then that just sucks. These guys here, just blind them and also put smokescreen down on top of both of them so the projectiles they launch are completely invalidated, and also for the long period blinds, because their attacks are rather slow apart from that. The big AoE icicle thing, you can blind that and that just nothing will happen, so that's nice. If I'd been more sensible, I would have put on smokescreen and sword for the pistol whip against them all. But, you know, this part's extremely easy anyway, you can use whatever the hell you want, to be honest. It doesn't take a genius to be able to beat this. And everyone seems to skip the next part of the dungeon, the totem, so I haven't had a chance to record that part, so moving straight on to the troll. The troll is pretty standard fare, just using cloak and dagger and backstab for the single target damage. So dagger naturally, and that's it. Nothing complicated about this fight. Sometimes the ice-brewed wolves will come down and be a pain in the ass, and if they are, I'll switch to short bow just to not get destroyed by the amounts of cripples and pounces that happen in rapid succession. Even my amount of dodges is not enough to compensate. Even my dodging and my blinding, you know, everything at my disposal is not going to be enough against all of them at the same time against just me. Because usually what happens is everyone wipes and I'm left by myself to try and kill them all. And it usually doesn't work. But since it's usually skipped most of the time, it doesn't really make much of a difference whatsoever. So this trial, walk in the park, your standard fare, single target spike stuff. Now against the Stormbringer, I use a slightly interesting tactic, I suppose, because smokescreen is so brilliant. Since everyone stacks in this corner all the time, I equip sword and pistol temporarily as a temporary weapon set, secondary rather, and get the deception cooldowns for my refuge and my shadow step and my smokescreen, but because they are going to be the most useful parts of this fight. But I also have dagger as a main weapon set for a little bit later, but not just yet. So as all of the enemies storm here, I quickly put on the black powder to stop all the attacks. And then, once all of these guys have pretty much been killed, I will rush out towards the main boss, get out dagger, and start wailing away. And because he has pretty much only projectile attacks and dodgeable red circle AoE attacks, smokescreen pretty much negates all of the damage he can inflict. And since we have an elementalist who's also using swirling winds, we've got some other projectile reflection skills going on, we can just keep a constant rotation to stop those projectiles from ever being a concern to us. Provided we do it properly, of course, because we're not actually talking or mumble or anything, we're just playing as we go. So sometimes skills will overlap, sometimes there are gaps where he doesn't have any projectile stops, but generally they're not worrying in the first place because they don't do much damage unless you let them get to you quite often. So smokescreen for this part is fantastic. I always remain in melee. Withdraw is fantastic to get rid of any chills that get left over. Shadow Step can also get rid of some additions if you really need to. And Shadow Refuge, naturally, if anyone goes down near him. Generally, if he's not aggroing, sometimes he won't fire projectiles at you. So if you stealth someone to revive them, they generally won't get shot at, which is interesting. So that's fun to know. And if extra mobs spawn and they don't die immediately, I don't rush up, then I go and kill them myself. And then it's straight back to Stormbringer. Easy part of the fight, no trouble at all. Since everyone seems to skip all the content after Stormbringer and go straight to the boss, I just decided to play this part because it seems the most relevant. But yep, this guy is pretty much all melee and all crippling. And that is it. This is one of the most boring fights in the game, but at the same time one of the most entertaining, because you have to be on your toes consistently, dodging absolutely everything, and my build specifically allows that to happen. I pretty much never run out of dodges, and if I do run out of dodges, Signet of Agility can immediately put me back into my starting state with almost infinite dodges. So this is probably one of the easiest if you're on your toes, but one of the hardest if you're not used to the playstyle. That involves lots and lots of dodging. Sometimes I will use Heartseeker just for the gap closer, but most of the time I'm just using Dancing Dagger and auto attacks because of Wild Strike getting endurance on the auto attack chain to keep my endurance going. But generally, if I'm constantly staying in melee, he's always paying attention to me and me only. And since lots of other people prefer to range him, that's nice for them because they get basically free reign against him. Since most of my damage is melee regardless, it makes no difference to me. So I'm just chilling, dodging everything he does, and spiking him repeatedly, doing as much damage as possible within melee range, and everyone else is having the time of their life. Or having the most boring time ever. It just depends. But, yeah. Since other people seem to care about the totems a little more than I do, they'll be taking care of that. Generally, we have one person who's responsible for destroying the totems, and everyone else just DPSs him from either range or from melee, but I'm usually the only one that stays directly in melee range. Other people will sort of be mid-range, having a mix between range and melee, but I'm too attention-deprived for that. So, this is it. This is literally all it is. Just melee, 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 all the way up until his death. And that's on the ways path 1. Extremely easy. If I get another group to do a different path, I will give it a go. I just dislike the other paths. They're not interesting and they're just way too boring. But if people want to see me do them, then I will. Not that I'm going to enjoy it though. So yeah, easy. So for CoF Path 1, I make sure that I have Smokescreen available, and I also use Sword and Pistol. And I have already checked with the Mesmer in our group beforehand that they're going to be pulling the 2 mobs to the right, which means they're going to be completely grouped up and susceptible to this. I'll plant the Smokescreen in a second. The Guardian has the Reflect Wall up, but it's in the wrong place because we're attacking it from in front of it. So I have the Smokescreen planted directly on top of them, so all of their fireballs do absolutely nothing, and the Pistol Whip can easily knock them completely out. And the turrets are obviously no problem whatsoever. Now when we come up to the boss, the champion guy here, I stick with Sword and Pistol for the evade properties of Pistol Whip against his burning-ish attacks, but I take away Smokescreen for Signet of Agility. If I remember to have Signet use equipped, I will, to supplement my Pistol Whips, but it's also just to remove the burns, and to supplementing dodges in case I need them. I still have Withdraw equipped, simply because I like to be further out of range while healing. I don't like the cast time of Hiding Shadows, especially when I'm in front of the boss constantly, so I just like to be able to get away quickly and then jump back in with Sword 2, like so. Easy peasy. So that boss is done pretty much the same way as any other. Reminds me a little bit of Subject Alpha, but even easier. So on to the Acolyte room. So here I switched to Dagger Pistol, simply because of the availability of backstabs to quickly destroy the Acolytes. Sword and Pistol Whip is nice, but I want to be able to more quickly dispose of these Acolytes. So once these guys are out of the way, I do exactly the same as everyone else seems to do, which is to back away into this little alleyway where everyone jumps up onto that rock. But what's nice here is if some stray mobs come down, like archers or the flamethrower guys, Headshot is available to just stop them from bothering you while you wait for the acolytes to spawn, and then you can just run straight past them. So I love Headshot for that purpose. And Blank Powder is also nice to stop any adjacent mobs from interrupting you against the acolytes. So overall, I think this is just the best set to use here. I also have Signet of Agility on here, just for the extra evades in case that stupid flamethrower guy follows me everywhere, and he usually does for some reason. So, same pattern every single time, just to get those acolytes down. And then this is where the thief comes in, especially handy. When we get to this part with the totem altar things, I shadow step through the door before it closes, and distract, what's his face, that flamethrower guy. And just when the gate controller opens, I opt to use Thieves Guild and then spike it with backstabs, etc. But a problem here is that the ranger who's with us doesn't actually do this very often, so I guess he completely forgot that you have to step on one altar and one altar only. So I have a lot of trouble trying to keep the heat up on this. I get knocked out of it at once, and at the beginning I get a huge delay where I'm not getting any hits off on it, so that was a rather subpar run, but if everyone hit the altar at exactly the same time, that would have gone down extremely quickly. So now, once we revive those two who just got downed, I stay with Dagger, but I also have the condition removal trait, just to get rid of any burns, and I don't have to bother wasting any dodges, because I'm lazy at this point. Yeah, there we go, switch to Dagger. And also because of the nice backstabs, etc. And the auto attack also provides poison, which slows down the regeneration aspect, so you can get him down even quicker. And that's it. That is CoF Path 1 in a nutshell. Extremely easy. Like everything else. I don't know why I bother saying that anymore, because they all seem extremely easy. Yeah, that's that. Oh, one more thing. I also have Signet of Agility for teammates if they seem to be having trouble with the burns. Apart from that, yeah. CoF Path 1. I will probably do Path 2 at some point, but I've never ever seen a group on LFG for Path 3 in a million years, so I doubt you'll see that at any point. So that's those, and yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the Fractals video, should I make that. But if I do any Honor of the Waves or CoF paths before that, then I'll see you then.